Hello, hello, hello. Is it nighttime yet? Seems like it should be. Hello to Tim. Hi, Amy. Hello, Adam. Hello, Olivia. Olivia, we'll go through the rain totals coming up. Is this the latest snow talk ever? No, not the latest, surprisingly. Hello, everyone. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good on a delayed version of Snow Talk today. Sorry, was not able to talk to you guys today, so I had to wait until I was able to. So that window made me a little nervous, but we want to make sure to at least touch base, shake hands, so we can have a chance to discuss what's going on. Otherwise, I could have skipped it today. I was like, nah, we're not going to skip it. It'll just be late. That's fine, though. All right. Everyone good? Jeremy, I saw your comment about the app. We have a new update on the radar portion of that. I will look at that on the functionality. There's been a few people that have commented about that. So a lot of this is known stuff, but keep sending the feedback in. We'll be looking into that. So I'll make sure to pass along your note there, Jeremy. All right. Hang tight. Everyone good? All right. So let's dive into it, because I wish I had a ton of time, but I don't, because it's a busy day. So there's a lot going on. So I need to regroup and get ready for the next phase of my day here. First off, let's get into the snowboard. The snow set up on Saturday. We're going to go through that. I will say this is good, because honestly, if I had one on earlier this morning, I was going to really be upset about the data that was coming in. But today, actually, a lot better agreement than they have been in a long time. So my confidence is a little higher on all these elements compared to what I had 6 hours ago. So that's good, I hope. Having said that, the Saturday snow does look minor. Do not see a big concern, but at least want to keep it on the board for now, as it's still early. So I'm going to roll it in now, especially when high res gets involved as we get closer to that window. So hang tight. But as of now, I don't see this being a big concern. Tuesday is the one to watch. More specifically, Monday night, Tuesday morning. We have all the types potentially on the table. I'll explain a little more on that coming up in just a second. First off, let's get you through the short term, as always the case, because while it's not getting a lot of attention, there's a lot that's going to be happening here in the next 24 hours. So be ready for that. This afternoon, it's mainly drizzle, a little breezy at times, but drizzle, a little bit of fog in areas where you have a more relaxed wind. Otherwise, the wind allowing enough stirring outside to keep that from being a huge issue today, which is a plus. We're kind of over the fog, right? Look at the warmth, 60s in central and southern Kentucky. Louisville right now knocking on the door of 59. Hey, look, if it's going to be like Seattle outside, at least we can brag that it's a mild version of Seattle. We'll take that. It's not bad, right? At least it's, again, not have to deal with cold and blustery without very light rain. Makes it more difficult to get around. The drizzle only shows up when it gets close to the radar beam at Fort Knox. I mean, it's fairly widespread in the area, but you don't really see it very well because it is so light and the droplets are so small. The radar doesn't really detect it until it's like right up on the beam. So that's the reason why it looks like only light rain here, but it's actually a little more expansive than that. Just more off and on as we continue the rest of the day. Staying mild. In fact, we're going to likely stay mild all the way through tonight. There really isn't a change in the wind direction, which is going to matter, as usually it does, until about daybreak tomorrow. Once we get to daybreak tomorrow, then it'll be a fairly rapid drop that will take place, and that leads into a very changeable day on your Wednesday. All right, let's get rid of the clouds. Let's look at the radar, and again, very light drizzly scenario. The moisture actually does tail all the way back to about here into Missouri, and then you can already see this is the actual cold front. This will be here again at daybreak tomorrow, back into Iowa now. It's got a long way to travel. Safe travels, cold front. But ahead of that, a lot of that soupy kind of low-level moisture just kind of dragging its feet along the I-64 corridor all the way into the Show Me State. So that's why it's going to stay relatively soupy as we end later on tonight. This rain is not conducive to serious leaf raking. Boy, aren't you telling the truth, Dale, because I have a tree. I can't think of what type it is. I'm not really good at that. but the leaves are massive, and it's not my tree; it's my neighbor's tree, and they always fall into my yard every year. But this year, it's more than a foot deep in some areas of my yard and these leaves, but now they're all caked down because of the rain. So it's, I'm trying to get them out of the way because I don't want to kill. I know the grass is dormant, but still it could lead to not a good setup underneath that if it sticks around. So I got to get out there too, but I need some drier weather to do the same. I may have to wait until Thanksgiving to do that. Why not work out in the yard on Thanksgiving? It makes sense. But good point, Dale. I noticed the same thing there. Let's see. Everyone good? Okay, good. All right, let's get back to the setup in the short term. Again, we got that front moving in. Any severe weather with this? Way south. This is an I-20 and south issue for severe weather, and even that will be a tamer version of what, say, Houston dealt with yesterday with apparent tornado damage. On the wintry side, blizzard warning. Hello. I think it's the first one of the season into northeast South Dakota. A lot of directions there. But northeast South Dakota, blizzard warning. Twin Cities getting ready for a few inches of snow, maybe up to half a foot in a couple of spots. Wouldn't surprise me. But a good snow over there. They're professionals. They love this. For them, this is flurries. So they're excited. The wind is really going to kick up, though. And in fact, the high wind warning is out on the other side of that front. And you can see where the wind field is going to be wrapping in around that low over the next 24 hours. The wind advisories are already in place to follow that surge of wind as it tracks all the way into the Ohio Valley. But also notice that none of our counties are technically included in that. And that's because the threshold is roughly 40 miles per hour, in some cases 45, depending on where you're at. But it's very, very close to that limit from Jasper to about North Vernon. You may get to 40 a couple times for tomorrow. But even for the rest of wave country, we're below the threshold as it stands now on the wind gust. But I wouldn't roll out a 40 being reached. I just don't know if it'll be frequently at 40. Most of the gusts will be at 31, 34, 35 miles per hour, that kind of speed. So it will certainly get your attention. And it's going to be a cold wind. As I mentioned, once that front hits in the morning, that's when the numbers really begin to drop. So let's go through that. Here's Futurecast showing the light rain and drizzle scenario for the remainder of this afternoon into this evening. Again, it's going to linger all night tonight. It's not going to go away. It's going to keep doing the same thing. Everything's stuck. So what you see outside is the way it's going to be if you're taking the dog out 2 in the morning. It'll be exactly the same. We get into tomorrow morning itself. Near daybreak, airs the front, passes by roughly 6 a.m. It scoots by wave country. As soon as it does, you will notice, because the wind starts to ramp up, more of a west-northwest direction on the wind flow. It will continue to gain speed. And then as we continue to cool the profiles down from top down in the atmosphere, it allows for any raindrops in the area to actually become snow showers. So around this time tomorrow, we should have snow flurries, maybe 1 or 2 snow showers that develop, especially between Louisville and Cincinnati. If you are in that corridor, typically our snow belt anyway that we have in wave country, you're in a good spot. If you're more south and west of Louisville, too far away to really get much action. So I doubt you'll see much of anything. But if you are certainly in that snow belt that we're going to call it here in wave country, you can get some flurry action. And I mentioned snow showers because the snow squall parameter is actually very minor right now, but it's elevated. So it's on the table. And I don't see a lot of convective look yet to these. But if we get a sunnier setup in the afternoon, maybe. But right now, I think we're going to be so overcast. I just don't see how that's going to be an issue. But again, sky condition matters on that. When you go partly cloudy, that induces snow showers, squall potential. If you stay overcast, that risk is very, very low. So I think it's mainly flurries. And we'll be above freezing. So no worries with that. Just made it look like a snow globe. Festive flakes, right? Festive flakes to enjoy. If you're traveling tomorrow, that's about the only weather issue other than the wind. The wind's probably the bigger one. All right, so I don't want to discount that. But it will be blustery, windy out. So hang on tight to the steering wheel. And again, with a west-northwest wind, I-65, I-71, you will feel it knocking on your side there as you're traveling. If you're on I-64, you may get a bit of a boost and save on gas. Wouldn't that be nice? But that wind will be blustery. And at times, a little bit of a snow globe look. But as of now, again, this looks very, very light. So I want to play that up at all. It moves on out. The flurries may take a while to dwindle, but as dry air eats at the system, it'll eat it alive. and it'll clear the sky out. In fact, it'll eat away the clouds. And then we end up with cold weather at or below freezing by the time we get into Thanksgiving morning. Wind gust potential. All right, there we go. The winds, again, roughly, I think 25 to 35 will be the most common that we'll have. But with temperatures in the 40s, it will not feel like that. It will feel like 30 to 32 for an actual temperature much of Wednesday. A bit of a shock. We've been spoiled here lately. It's been, just foggy and drizzly outside. Nothing major, right? So this setup with a wind chills and the strong wind gusts, everyone's going to be complaining about it and talking about it tomorrow. Like, oh, it's cold out there, freezing. That's what everyone's going to say in the office. All right. So as we get into the extended, this is where things get a little hairy. So hang tight. Let's walk you through it. I'm going to show you the Euro because, to be honest with you, the models actually, again, as I said, are alluding to kind of the same idea of the theme here. So that helps in explaining this. But as we get into your Saturday and to Sunday, the first little piece is going to roll out. Now, the trends on this is to take the center of the spin, the low pressure, move it across Nebraska into Kansas, curve it near Kansas City, and right into Chicago, northern Indiana. That is a track that normally for us is rain, not snow. However, because of this cold blast that arrives tomorrow morning at daybreak, that's still here early Saturday morning, the very leading edge of this could still have a few snow showers with it, but it'll be very minor. It's hard to even talk about accumulations with it because it's barely even showing up on the system, but it's going to be just very light and mainly west of 65. But otherwise, as you evolve further into the day on Saturday, at that point, the track and the turn already towards Chicago has taken place. And now we're setting the stage for a warmer flow. And while it's not going to be a warm rain, it will be a cold rain. We will get to raindrops. One exception to that is there are still some hints that some ice pellets or sleet may try to mix in with some of that rain as it moves in during Saturday evening. But overall, the worst of the wintry impacts from the Saturday function here of this particular piece is going to be felt across the Midwest. This is mainly a big event for Missouri, Illinois, Chicago for sure. I mean, Chicago could be looking at half a foot of snow out of this, maybe a touch more. Northern Indiana. Now, Indianapolis is going to be really tough. That's going to be tough to be a forecaster there because it's likely to be a burst of snow and then go to rain. But how long does that take? Good question. The thermal profile of the atmosphere that day, that's where we need high res to get involved. That has to be sorted out. But on paper, I think a burst of snow is likely for Indy and a good chunk of Ohio, and then going over to rain eventually. The rain snow line is going to be likely just north of I-70, the way it's looking right now, by Saturday afternoon and evening. Again, for the rest of us, rain. Now, there is a narrow window, the very end of this, for the backlash to end as some flurries into Saturday night, very early Sunday morning, or excuse me, Sunday night. Get the time periods right. Sunday night, there could be perhaps this ending as a few flurries. I don't see it being a big issue there because there's not a lot of moisture for this to work with at that point. And most of the time when we see that on a model, it rarely materializes. You see it on the model, then it's, you get to the actual day and it doesn't happen. So bet on more rain than anything for this weekend. Not overly warm. We've tapered the temperatures down a bit. I don't see a lot of warmth involved in the system. It's relatively a cool system that moves into the area. But the trend has been to allow this to be a fairly potent low pressure moving out of Missouri into Chicago. And why is that important? Well, because of it being a stronger low in the Great Lakes, it is going to allow for a push of cold air to dive in behind it. But now that's important because now that we're pushing the cold air down, whatever comes next, we'll take advantage of that because you want to, if you want snow, that is, you want these systems to be spaced close together as possible, not far out. The longer you have to wait for the next one, odds of warming back up again increase. The faster these systems roll in, the chance to warm up is tough to do, and so therefore the next one typically is wintry. That looks to be the case. The energy diving into the text, you see it there, dropping down, will likely roll then on out as we head into early next week. And that will likely be the one that will feature a bit of a wintry look to it. Here is the Euro on this. Let me advance this. Most of the rain, but the first wave, I think there will be a clear cut, by the way. The first wave will move in with a little bit of snow, go into rain, maybe end as a flurry. All that's going to happen from Saturday into about mid-afternoon, Sunday evening. Then we'll get a separation. We'll cut it down the middle, kind of end things for a moment, take a breather. Once we get that breather, then the next wave will move in, and this will likely be Monday afternoon or Monday night into Tuesday. That one will then roll out across the deep south, and again, the northern side will have a wintry look to it. And there is a lot of dry air in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, so some of this is going to be flurries or not even reaching the ground. You got to be as close to the low track as you can be to get anything on the wintry side on the northwest corner of it. Here's also the catch to it. You don't want this to be an overly strong system. I know you want a big snow out of it. But at this point, if you just want snow in general to fly, you want this to remain relatively weak. And the weaker it is, the more it will just gradually guide through the cold air and take advantage of it. If it becomes a stronger low pressure, it will want to cut. And if it cuts, that snow band's going to move back into Indiana, Illinois, Missouri. So far, I haven't seen any trend for that. The high looks strong enough here across the Great Lakes that it is going to fight any strong low right now and will likely keep this relatively suppressed. Yes, there is a chance it goes far enough south that it misses us completely and gives us snow to Nashville, Knoxville, and Atlanta. I'm not ruling that out, to be honest, but I like where it's positioned now. I think it makes sense. It is a very classic track for us to get light snow in the Ohio River Valley. So I think it's a fair forecast for that to happen Monday night and Tuesday. I know all the kids are waiting, want to know what this could be like for school. I don't know. It's a week away. And it doesn't look like to be a big event on snow, but as we know, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. And we'll be relatively cold ground too by this point. So we won't have the mild ground like we have out there now. So it gets a little more interesting at that point for early next week. This one's more exciting to me as a snow lover than what we'll have on Saturday. Even though the Saturday one has more of a kick to it, this one has a better profile. It moves on out, and we will likely repeat this again a few more times into December. More on that in a second. Let me show you some maps. I try to show the case this a little differently. It's a little archaic, so I apologize. I used Mario Paint. Anyway, you can see as we into Saturday morning, some light snow. We'll go with that light snow in Indiana. I think 64 north and west there is going to be the zone to watch. Very, very brief. Otherwise, as we get into Saturday afternoon, it's rain. And Saturday night, it's going to be rain. Your snow line goes way north of I-70. We get into Sunday, most of the rain shield will be heading to the east. Again, a little bit of light snow possible, maybe a flurry or two as this pulls out of town, depending on how quickly that happens. But minor, no issues there. We get into Monday afternoon. Now we're starting to see the southern wave. Now, I put freezing rain here because there is an overrunning aspect to this initially, but I don't know if really it's going to be that much of a concern. There may be enough of the cold layer itself may be deep enough that we may just keep this all snow. It may not get any type of mix involved. But I think for now, let's go with a mix idea on the northern fringes of this. Let's give it a little more time to cook, and we'll let you know if we need to adjust it. But just being very transparent, I do see the profile being very borderline here that it could be all snow on the northern side of this. We just don't know the track and how much moisture is going to be available. So I don't know the amounts. We get into Monday night and Tuesday morning. I think a snow band on the northern side of this. It's going to be a relatively tight corridor here on the wintry aspects, but I think it's fair to say central Kentucky along the river is a good spot to monitor as we into Tuesday morning. But it moves in, it moves out. It's not going to stay around and sightsee for very long. It's going to be in a hurry to get out of here. Any questions on that before I get into this map? Let me know now. Let's see. Are you doing the winter outlook? I try to around Christmas. I'm usually out during that time period of the year, but I will try. I will try to get something out to you, Cameron. Bryce, yeah, it's ice. I understand that. And Bryce, that's fair. And anytime you got an overrunning scenario, which is what this one's trying to do, I think that's a fair thing to have in the outlook for now. But again, if I had to redraw that, I probably would make it more snow than I would ice. But stay tuned. The depth of the cold layer is what matters there. Oyster roast. Joel's going to oyster roast. Tucker, I live in Alaska half of the year. This looks like home. Oh, you got to tell stories. Are you in the section of Alaska where it's already nighttime until what, January? Late January? I would love to experience that. But I'm a big horror movie fanatic. So 30 Days of Night was like a really terrifying movie for me. The idea, the vampires came out. It was the nighttime period of the Arctic. So that's what I always think of when they talk about the sunset has taken place for the last time for the year. I always think of the vampires. It's probably a little dramatic, but hey, when you grow up with horror movies, that's what happens. What's the big dip on the map? Well, I'm glad you asked, EK. This big dip right here is the Arctic sea ice. This is important because the blue line is where we're at. Now, the gray areas where we typically are in the Arctic, this is the amount of ice that builds up early on. Last winter, it was there. We melted away through the summer. It drops down, the coverage drops, and then you build it back up through winter again, setting up into early spring, right? The dashed line is the record low level amount, the most amount of melting we've ever had. And this was from 2012, is that dashed line. But look, the blue line is where we're at. And notice what has happened here in the past week, couple of weeks really, is that we've crossed over the 2012 line. So we are now entering record territory of having the least amount of Arctic ice where it counts. This is important because not only is this significant in terms of climate impacts that are happening up in that area, as we all know, and it's a warming event for sure. But what we don't always consider in this scenario is when you are warming up the Arctic like that, the cold air has to go somewhere. It's still going to happen. It has to go somewhere. And that's where we get into the talk of the polar vortex. So this is a strong signal that the cold air has left the Arctic. And it's on its way now to mid-latitude areas. And that's where the United States falls, southern Canada, United States, also into Europe. And that's where the cold air will likely try to invade, if you will, and attack into the coming weeks. It's a matter of now tracking it. And the models, again, are always last minute on seeing this. So if you're a model watcher, you're like, where's it at? I don't see it yet. You will see it. You will see it. Right now, they're below torching at times, going to really warm some of the extended outlooks. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. The models tend to have to react to global pattern changes, not hint at it. They react to it. So you'll see the models catch on here soon. Just don't know to what impact yet or what degree they will show, but we will see some changes. Another signal for that is the MGO. We talked about this yesterday, going to phase 8. This is the latest Euro. Sure enough, it goes to phase 8, but then it curls up around again toward the center, which indicates it's weakening. So it'll have some influence to allow for colder attacks in the eastern part of North America. And then whether or not it has more of an influence after that remains to be seen there. So everything's lining up for there to be more of a colder impact as we head into the late portion there of really mid to late December. Hi, Myra.
What are you doing in here?
Oh, I'm doing Myra and Sari's here, everybody. We're about ready to do a cut in on the TV side. So this is how late I am. You want to say hi to everybody?
Sure. I thought you do this at 10.
Yeah, well, today's been a whole other ball game.
Okay.
Long story. They're listening. They're listening right now. I don't want to say what it was. I don't want to tell them. All right. I'll be done. It's I promise 10 seconds. Okay. I'll be done.
Set up everything.
Sorry, guys. This also means I'm not going to have time to get to a lot of your questions today. But it was either that or not do anything at all. And I at least want to give you guys something to work with, right? So here we go. Again, with 60 today, windy and colder tomorrow. And then we get into the snow to rain setup as we head into Saturday. And then next week, Monday night and Tuesday, that's going to be our main focal point to watch. All right, guys. I do have to run because we have a cut in to do. But I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and we'll talk more about it. Fair enough? All right, take care. Behave yourselves. I'll see you guys coming up on the flip side. Take care.